Hey everybody, it's Holly Burns of Holly Burns Psychic. This is my question and answers video where we're answering your questions for the elders about the coronavirus. Before I start, a couple people were asking me some questions, so I guess I'll just explain this at the beginning of every video in case you're new. The elders are a compilation of all-knowing souls that speak to me in one voice. They started speaking to me 24/7 in around 2007, and before that I worked with my spirit guide for a couple years, and he melds in with the elders. And when they first came to me, the only thing I can tell you about them is that they seemed like workers for God, like big time angelic beings that are way higher than people. That's all I know. They might not be, but that's how I translate them to be. And they're great, they're all-knowing, and they work with me 24/7, and they never go away. So here we go. So I have some questions from viewers to go through today, and let's get started with those. The first question is from Alec, and he wanted to know, he said, I'm curious to hear more about the shift in the consciousness post-COVID that you mentioned in an earlier video. What might it look like and include? So the first thing they said was, they said something directly to Alec. They said, first of all, the world will be more receptive to the messages that you're here to deliver to them. So that's a cool message for you, Alec, because I know you're here to help a lot of people awaken. And so basically what that means is that the frequency, and I know I'm touching my nose, but I'm at home and I'm not going anywhere. Okay, so what that means is that the frequency of the people will be higher when we're done, and that makes them more receptive to different messages. And so the messages that you're giving to them are on a certain frequency that a lot of people aren't ready for yet, so they won't hear the message correctly. They'll be closed off to it. But after this happens, more people will be on a higher consciousness level, and so they'll be able to hear the messages that you're hearing with more openness, and they'll be more ready for it by then. So there's a law in the universe that states that the frequency we're on with our thoughts is the only frequency we can hear answers back on. So that's why when you're having an argument with somebody, sometimes you're like, how could you possibly see it that way? They're totally divergent to what I'm saying to them. They don't get anything I say. That's why. Okay, so the second thing they said was, society will keep into place many of the things that are being put in place right now in order to cope with the pandemic. Like people being able to work from home. You know, hey, a lot of people are functioning quite well working from home, and they're going to be able to keep doing that in a lot of instances, which they have been wanting to do for a long time, telling their employers, hey, I can do this from home. Why do I have to go drive and make pollution? So now that we're seeing what a difference that makes on the world, this is going to be opening doors for us to be able to go through these trajectories that we wanted to go through for many years now. And so it's going to be great because the pollution thing is big. That's like really, really, really going to open the doors to a lot of people being able to telecommute with their jobs. Also, they said things like mandatory meetings for businesses. They'll be able to do them with Zoom instead of having to be there in person. Anything we can do to cut down on air pollution is going to be big. They said it's going to be like everybody is waking up from a dream when we're done. Everyone's going to feel like everything's new, everything's different. Like in the movies, when everybody's under a curse, and then, like, you know, it's a fantasy movie, and everybody in the kingdom is under a curse, and then boom, the curse is lifted, and they're all like, oh, how are you? Where are we? Wow, what happened? Like that. It's going to feel a little bit like that. And they also said the energy will feel a lot like after there's a huge storm. So like there's a big storm that comes through in the summertime here in Minnesota, we get really cool thunderstorms. And then after that, we get this cool glow to the world. When the light comes through the storm energy, the magnetic field that happens from the rain and the clouds, and the light coming through all that, when it's done, it kind of has this eerie color sometimes to the evening light. And it feels just different. So it's like that. It's because it's a different frequency, we're going to feel different about it. And that's going to be good. So refreshed, different, higher, lighter, They also said that people will be afforded more humane and fair work standards. So that's going to be good. We just kind of covered that already earlier with some specific examples, but that was more general. They said this is totally changing the trajectory that we were on as a planet. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit, like futures. So we're creating our future as we go, and we always have like infinite choices, infinite roads we can go down that we can create. It's not preset for us. And so this whole experience has shifted the timeline of us to a different timeline for an ending. So higher and bigger and better than what it was before. So we basically were just like, they kind of gave me this vision when they told me this. It's just like we were just picked up and that one was erased. Like I always think of like a whiteboard, and like that connection was just erased, and now we're building a new one. So really good, and it's better. We're going to like it better. People are going to feel more connected forever, they said, and act more connected. So that's really good. They said we'll wake up and clean up the planet and preserve our natural resources and habitats. So that's the new trajectory that we're switching to. We're switching to the one where like, ooh, due diligence. Let's go. Wow. Like the canals in Italy are just unbelievable. We want to keep them that way. Awesome. Stuff like that's going to be very much easier to create into physical reality now than it was before. Before we had lots of resistance between us and these endings. Now we've got way more people on board. So the collective consciousness has a lot more momentum in these directions. So good. Lots of good stuff happening. They said we are taking baby steps towards the oneness that we are. What that means in human English is that we're taking baby steps to connect our energies more and understand that what everyone does on the planet affects everybody. Everybody's affecting everybody else. So you really can't get away from that. You can't be in your own little energetic island on the earth and think that what you do doesn't affect the collective, because everything we do affects the collective, and the collective is what happens to the entire planet. If you look at the big picture, I always think of myself as I'm up in space and I'm looking at the planet. And I'm looking at everybody's thoughts and everybody's life and what everybody's doing. And you can get like super minute, or you can go way back to the big picture and see that everything we do becomes a collective frequency. So that's going to be higher and better. We're going to realize that more, be more aware of how we're connected, and we're going to act more from that perspective a little bit more. Baby steps. They said baby steps. Not huge from this, but we're in a flow to get there. Oh, the people are going to seek their heart's desire more than ever before. So we're going to see a lot of small businesses opening up where it's just one-person businesses, where they're artists or artisans or they're healers, things like that. A lot more people are going to be following that trajectory now because we have created a physical reality that makes it easier for them to become that. We're opening these doors. We're getting rid of the blockades. And so more people are going to be able to do this. There's infinite ways, but I can't get into that much detail in this video. It would be way too long. But you can get the gist of that. Yeah, I pretty much just covered that. Okay, now on to organic plants. So we're going to have a lot more. They showed me a lot of people going into organic farming and really making healthy food. We're going to get away. What's going away is inhumane treatment of animals and eating them from these inhumane treatments. We're going to step up to the plate here, and we're going to treat the chickens better. We're going to treat the cows better. We're going to have a lot more organic farming, so it's going to be competing with that because, you know, the younger generation is not as into meat as the people, the generation above me, were. And so plant-based is where it's going to be at, man, where it's going to be at. And there's going to be a lot of people offering that. They also said respect and kindness for people and animals. That is coming through now. More of that. Mistreatment of animals is going away. They said, remember, baby steps. It's not going to be just a jump, but you're going to find more of it. And I just saw where they passed a law in China where they're closing down. They made it against the law to eat domestic dogs and cats in, I don't know if it was a republic, a smaller facet, not the whole country. But anyway, the details are not important, but what's important is that we're making strides, people. We're making strides. And they said killing just for game is going to go away. Like when people pay a company to go on a game farm and shoot an exotic animal, that stuff's going away. Yay. Okay, now they said longer range stuff. Longer range stuff, they said cool clothes will always be in. We're not moving towards the Star Trek ways where everybody dresses the same. I always think that's so funny. When you watch Star Trek and you watch these other civilizations, everybody dresses the same. Like, why would we do that? They said we will have open communication with ETs. These are long range. Long range. We will open our boundaries of what we think we can do with our consciousness and allow ourselves to do a lot more with our own psychic abilities that we're all born with. So this is all long range stuff. And homes are going to be a lot different. They said to me that homes were going to be not a direct relationship to the person's income or social status anymore. You're not going to be able to tell by their house anything about them. So super rich people are going to have super simple little abodes. They showed me something like on a mountainside, like out in nature, like this one little house, off grid. And that's like the super rich person's house. So people aren't going to be as interested in really, really big, large houses as they are as creative houses, living in creative places. And they said because the technology is there now, where we can create little abodes for us in places that we wouldn't have been able to do that as easily without the modern technology that allows us to be able to live off grid a lot easier. So we're going to explore the planet, and we're really going to go into the nooks and crannies, and we're not going to do we're going to spread out more instead of the cul-de-sacs. And they said that's going away too, where the builders are requiring everybody to build all their houses the same. They're like, that's so dumb. That's just dumb. So that's going away. People have to coagulate together. Like, oh, we have to have all the 5,000 square foot houses with stone on the front have to be all in the same neighborhood because that's required by the builder. You must have stone on the front of your house and you must have at least 3,500 square feet or you can't build in this neighborhood. That's going away. People are just going to be a lot more free with their living situations on the planet and they're going to really enjoy it a lot more. They also said the future cities are going to, we're going to really make sense of the vertical space a lot more on the planet. So they showed me the building top. So I'm looking down on the top of a building in a city and somebody's out there gardening. And, you know, we're getting more and more of that right now. People being able to garden. But this was like every person had like their individual garden space. So like the tenants in the building had their own individual space to be able to garden on the top of the building and other places too, because that would not be enough space for every tenant. But they were just creatively using gardening, going vertical up to the top, and then they had cars driving around. At the top of the building, they had cars driving. So yes, they were floating in the air. The cars are driving in the air around the top of the building. So much more vertical. And I do have a really good friend that has some really great ideas for vertical cities. And I hope that we get to see some of his plans come true in my lifetime because he's got some really cool plans to use a vertical space. Okay, we're going to do one more question on this video and then I'll cut it off and I'll do another video. Okay, second question for this video is from Patricia. She said, will student loans get canceled or forgiven? Don't we all want to know that? Okay, she said, in some dimensions, yes, in some dimensions, no. I don't need to get into that too deeply, but that basically means that we live out our lives in multiple dimensions and we have those different futures and they're happening at the same time, and depending on our choices that we make is the future that we individually choose. So within the collective choice of manifestations, we also have each one of our individual choices. And so they said in some dimensions, the society will go that way and will make that happen. And in some dimensions, we won't. And in this dimension that we're in, it's not going away right now. They said, however, it can go away for you, Patricia. It can go away for you. There's infinite ways it can go away. You just have to believe that it can go away. And so take down the barrier and don't put the blockade there, and you'll find lots of ways to get out of it. I have a few I can tell you off camera. Okay, so in the short term, they will make it seem like they're helping us out with the student loans, but they're not really having them go away. Like now, they're saying, well, we'll put you in forbearance. We'll hold the payments. Okay, that's great. but they're not going away. We want them away. We want them gone. So, but they're not doing that right now. But they'll make it look like they're helping us out, though. So, hey, the elders just said, hey, it's a step in the right direction. It is. Everything that's happening right now is crumbling some of the power that they had over society and releasing some of the funds back to the people and giving us a lot of freedom to do what we want. A lot of people are going to have money to be able to follow their passions. So it's all dominoes. Got to look for them. Okay, then they said, in the future, we won't have student loans at all. And then they gave me some blips of education in the future, what it's going to be like, which is pretty cool. So I'll share it. Okay. So they said, in the future, we won't have student loans at all. There'll be other ways in place on how to pay for our educations. And they gave me this blip, like the government will start a fund for you as soon as you're born, and that'll grow. And then when you're older, like 18, that fund will have enough bounty for you to be able to pay for your education with it. So it's kind of like what they do now with your birth certificate number, but a little different and higher vibrating than that. Then they also said, meaning that money will be obsolete after a while. And we won't need money anymore because we're going to have the technology to get whatever we want. Replicators are not, they are not just fantasy. I know there's off-planet technology where Corey Good talks about it on Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. You can listen all about it. There are people already that have replicator technology. So once this technology reaches the mainstream, bam, we're done. The economy is over. So when we reached that area, they said then, they showed me a professor in college and somebody was trying to pay him to get into college. And he's like, dude, I don't want your money to go to college. Like that means nothing to me. Offering me money means nothing to me. And then they showed me that it's going to be really free. To get your education, it's going to be really free. You don't have to be in a grade. There's no grade levels anymore. So if you're young and you want to progress super fast, you can just progress super fast. There's not going to be really set when you're younger where you have to stay in a grade for the whole year and everyone's together and you have to go at the pace that the teacher teaches. You'll be able to go at the pace that you want to go at and be able to join all these classes all over the place for whatever you want to learn about, whatever you want to do. It was really cool. But they did say the lower aged children will still have some group things where they'll be doing at a young age, educationally, they said not because of the education, but because of the socialization aspects of it. That's going to be very important for them to group together with other children. So they'll still be doing things like that. But the freedom to go up and down in the levels of learning are going to be just completely different than what they are now and really, really, really free. Okay, I think that's everything for that question. They said this, very important. So yeah, that's it for this question. Okay, so I'm going to cut it off here with these two questions, and then I'm going to start a new video and go into our next question so that the videos don't get too long. Okay, be right back.